Have you ever caught a glance you didn't expect? You're standing in line at a cafe, waiting for your order, lost in thought, and suddenly a younger woman looks at you. For just a moment, her eyes linger, and a smile crosses her face. It's quick, subtle, almost fleeting. But in that instant, something shifts. Most men, especially as they get older, brush it off. They tell themselves, "That wasn't for me." Maybe she was being polite. Maybe she saw someone behind me. Maybe it was nothing. And so they dismiss it as though their presence couldn't possibly be the reason for that glance. But what if it wasn't random? What if that smile wasn't a polite accident, but a silent recognition? A recognition of something deeper than appearance, deeper than age, deeper than fashion or surface charm. What if that smile was a quiet acknowledgement of your presence? The kind of presence most men don't even realize they carry. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once observed that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And when a younger woman smiles at you, how you react to that moment reveals everything about how you see yourself. If you dismiss it, you are telling yourself you are invisible. If you receive it with quiet recognition, you are acknowledging the truth of your own presence. You see, the world has conditioned older men to believe they fade with time. That once youth slips away, so does visibility, so does relevance, so does desirability. And because they believe it, they carry themselves as though it's true. Shoulders lowered, voices quieted, a presence dimmed. They move through life as if they are invisible. But here's the truth. You are not invisible. Far from it. In fact, there is something about you now that wasn't there before. Something younger men cannot fake, no matter how hard they try. It's not your hair, your clothes, or even the lines on your face. It's something far more powerful. It's the energy of a man who has lived, endured, and grown. That smile, that fleeting glance. It's not about youth. It's not about trying to impress. It's about a kind of gravity you carry with you. A quiet strength, a presence that speaks before you even open your mouth. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When your thoughts are colored by the belief that you are invisible, your soul reflects that. You shrink. You fade. But when your thoughts are colored by the knowledge that you have endured and grown, your soul radiates a presence that cannot be ignored. Younger women may not always understand it, and they rarely put it into words, but they feel it instinctively. And in a world obsessed with flash and noise, presence is the rarest thing of all. This is not about chasing attention. It's not about proving yourself. It's not even about attraction in the shallow sense. It's about recognition, a subtle, wordless reminder that you are still seen, that your presence still matters, that your story, your scars, your stillness, all of it radiates something the world desperately notices, even when you don't. So the next time it happens, when a younger woman smiles at you, when her glance holds for just a second too long, don't brush it off. Don't let insecurity silence the message. Take it in. Not as arrogance, not as desperation, but as proof. Proof that what you've lived, what you've endured, what you've become is visible and undeniable. The philosopher Seneca once wrote that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And when you waste a moment of recognition by dismissing it, you are wasting an opportunity to see yourself as you truly are. Seen, valued, present. A smile. It seems so simple, so ordinary, just a curve of the lips, a flicker across the face. But in truth, it is one of humanity's oldest and most primal signals. Before language, before writing, before any complex form of communication, we smiled. It was how we recognized, connected, and reassured one another. It was never random. It was never meaningless. When a younger woman smiles at an older man, it's not always flirtation, and it's not always an invitation, but it is almost never accidental. It's a reflex, a response to something she senses, something beneath the surface. She isn't reacting to the shirt you're wearing, the style of your haircut, or the brand of watch on your wrist. What she's responding to is harder to name, but impossible to ignore. It's the way you carry yourself, the way you walk into a room without needing the spotlight, the way you stand in silence, calm and assured, without reaching for approval. That smile is a a reflection of the energy you radiate when you're grounded in who you are. You see, the world is full of men who chase, men who posture, men who exhaust themselves trying to be noticed, trying to impress, trying to prove their worth through noise. Younger women see this every day. They can spot insecurity a mile away. But when a man doesn't chase, when he doesn't try to sell himself, when he simply is, steady, calm, self-contained, it creates a different kind of magnetism. That's what the smile responds to. It's not about lust. It's not about fantasy. It's about presence. A presence that's been shaped through fire, through loss, through experience. She may not even understand why she feels it, but she does. Deep down, something in her recognizes it instantly. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus also taught that no great thing is created suddenly. And the presence that draws a smile from a younger woman is no exception. It is built through the accumulation of moments, each one building on the last. Each time you choose to stand steady in the face of chaos, you build that presence. Each time you choose to endure rather than crumble, you build that presence. And as you build it, it becomes part of who you are. And here's the tragedy. Most older men dismiss it. They tell themselves, it couldn't have been for me. They assume invisibility, so they reject the very recognition they've been given. They look away. They downplay it. They ignore the moment. And in doing so, they miss the truth, that they are still seen, that they still have weight, that their presence still matters. A smile is not just courtesy. It's acknowledgement. It's a subtle message that says, I notice you. And in a world that constantly tells older men they no longer count, that quiet acknowledgement can be a spark, a reminder that the story is far from over. So the next time it happens, don't analyze it to death. Don't bury it under self-doubt. Don't shrug it off as coincidence. Recognize it for what it is. Proof. Proof that your presence is real, that it resonates, that it speaks louder than the noise of youth. Because sometimes the smallest signals carry the deepest truths. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And when you realize that her smile is not an outside event to be doubted, but a reflection of your own strength, you find the power to receive it with grace. There is something no amount of youth, no gym membership, no expensive suit can imitate. Experience. Not the kind you list on a resume, not the shallow tally of years lived, but the raw, unfiltered experience of being tested by life itself. You see, every man carries scars. Some are visible. Lines across the face, silver in the hair, a slower step. But the most powerful scars are invisible, carved deep into the soul. They come from the storms you've walked through, the heartbreaks that cut you down, the failures that almost broke you, the battles you fought in silence when no one else was there to witness it. Most men look in the mirror and see decline. They see wrinkles, not wisdom. They see age, not evolution. But what they fail to realize is that each year has forged them into something far stronger than they were in youth. Every setback, every loss, every mistake has tempered them like fire tempers steel. This is what younger women sense when they smile at an older man. It's not his hairstyle or his paycheck. It's the depth that only comes from living, really living. Because unlike the young man, still frantic, still untested, still chasing identity, the older man has been through the chaos. He has walked through fire, and he no longer needs to run. Grey hair isn't weakness, it's survival. Wrinkles aren't flaws, they're records of battles endured. A slower pace doesn't mean he's falling behind, it means he's stopped racing everyone else. And that is precisely what makes him magnetic. Younger men live in potential. And potential is exciting, yes, but it is unproven. Raw metal waiting to be shaped. Older men carry proof. Proof that they've faced storms and remained standing. Proof that chaos can be endured without losing composure. Proof that strength doesn't have to shout. It can be silent and steady. This is the quiet power of experience. A man who has been humbled, tested, and refined is not loud. He doesn't need to be. His presence does the talking. And when a younger woman sees him, she feels it, maybe without fully understanding why. Something in her recognizes the difference between noise and depth, between raw potential and tested reality. The world glorifies youth because it is flashy, fast, full of fire. But fire burns out quickly. Experience. That's the steady flame that never dies, the one that gives warmth instead of smoke. And in that warmth, others, especially women, feel something rare in today's world: trust, safety, depth. So when you doubt yourself, when you believe the lie that your best years are behind you, remember this: your greatest asset isn't what you lost in youth. It's what you gain through living, and that more than anything is what makes you unforgettable. The philosopher Seneca also observed that true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future. And when you embrace the present, with all its scars and wisdom, you become a man who is truly alive. And that aliveness is what draws others to you. Presence is one of the rarest qualities in the modern world. It isn't about muscles, wealth, or being the loudest man in the room. Presence is the quiet force that makes people notice you without even understanding why. It's the calm that settles in a space the moment you walk in. It's the unshakable energy of a man who no longer needs to prove himself. Confidence, when it's real, is never loud. It doesn't shout for attention. It doesn't demand to be recognized. It simply exists, steady and undeniable. And here's the truth most men miss. Confidence is not something you show off. It's something you carry. It shows in the way you breathe, the way you hold eye contact, the way you speak less but say more. Younger women notice this instantly. They live in a world overflowing with noise. Men trying too hard, posturing, chasing, desperately seeking approval. It's exhausting. But when they encounter a man who is composed, who doesn't chase, who doesn't need validation, something inside them responds. It's not always conscious, but it's real. This is where older men have a hidden advantage. With time, with struggle, with failures survived and lessons learned, a man either breaks or becomes solid. The ones who choose to embrace their scars, who refine themselves instead of hiding, radiate a presence that no young man can fake. But here's the problem. Too many older men shrink. They confuse silence with invisibility. They allow insecurity to erode their presence, believing the lie that they've lost relevance. And in doing so, they betray themselves. They walk into a room already apologizing for being there. They've convinced themselves that confidence is gone, when in truth, it's just buried beneath doubt. Real confidence is not about dominance. It's not about control. It's about ease. The man who is fully at home in his own skin carries an aura that no one can ignore. He doesn't chase respect, but he receives it. He doesn't beg for attention, but he draws it effortlessly. Why? Because people trust what is steady. They are drawn to what is real. And this is what younger women feel when they smile at an older man with presence. They're not necessarily signaling romance. They're not promising anything, but they are recognizing something rare. Composure in a world of chaos. Stillness in a world of noise. A man who carries his story without needing to perform it. Presence and confidence cannot be faked. They cannot be rushed. They must be lived, forged, tested. They are the reward for enduring life and refusing to crumble. And when a man embraces that, when he decides to carry himself with dignity instead of doubt, his very existence speaks louder than any words ever could. So the next time you enter a room, don't shrink. Don't tell yourself you're invisible. Stand in the quiet truth of who you are. Because if you've lived, endured, and grown, your presence already commands the space. And the world, especially younger women, can feel it. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that no great thing is created suddenly, and the presence that commands attention is no exception. It is built through the accumulation of small choices, each one building on the last. And as you build it, it becomes part of who you are. In a world that feels more chaotic by the day, stability has become a rare currency. Everyone claims to want excitement, adventure, and spontaneity. But beneath all of that, what people truly crave is trust. The quiet certainty that someone will not waver when things fall apart. And this is where older men, when they embrace their journey, stand apart. Because stability is not something you inherit. It's not something you fake with confidence tricks or surface-level bravado. Stability is built. It's carved out of hardship, refined by responsibility, and tempered by moments when you had no choice but to be strong. Younger men often live in conflict with themselves. They are ambitious but unsure, confident on the surface but uncertain underneath. They chase thrills but avoid commitment. They speak loudly, but their words lack weight because they are still searching for direction. And women feel this instability. It isn't hidden. It leaks through tone, posture, decisions. It's sensed immediately. But the older man who has faced storms, who has endured loss, survived failure, and carried burdens radiates something entirely different. He no longer bends under pressure. He doesn't panic in crisis. He doesn't dissolve when life demands strength. Instead, he stands. He breathes. He steadies. That steadiness is magnetic, because in a world full of uncertainty, composure is irresistible. People, especially women, feel drawn to it, not out of romance alone, but out of instinct. Safety is rare, reliability is rare, and trust is priceless. Trust is not built in the easy times. Anyone can smile when life is smooth. True trust is born in the moments when chaos arrives, when the bills pile up, when the storm hits, when the plan falls apart. The man who holds his ground then, who doesn't lose himself in fear or anger, proves something that no amount of youth or charm can replicate. He can be relied upon. And women, especially younger women, sense this immediately. They may not articulate it. They may not even consciously realize it. But when they see a man whose presence is steady, who is unshaken by pressure, who does not flinch when the world tilts, something shifts. Respect is born. Curiosity is sparked. Attraction often follows, not because he's chasing it, but because he embodies what most are silently searching for, a quiet anchor in a storm. This is the essence of masculine stability. It is not loud. It does not boast. It does not crumble. It simply exists like bedrock beneath shifting sands. And when a younger woman smiles at an older man, it's often a subconscious recognition of this. Here is someone different. Here is someone steady. So understand this. Your greatest strength is not in competing with youth on its terms. Your strength is in embodying what youth cannot yet offer. Stability, calm, and trust. These are the qualities that don't fade with age. In fact, they only grow stronger. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When your thoughts are colored by stability and calm, your soul reflects that, and others will feel it. They will sense that you are someone who cannot be easily shaken, and that sense of stability is deeply attractive. There is a quiet lie that too many men begin to believe as they get older, the lie of invisibility. They tell themselves that once the fire of youth fades, so does their relevance. They assume the spotlight has moved on, that no one is watching, that they've become background characters in a world that worships youth, speed, and surface beauty. And the tragedy, many men accept this lie. They shrink. They stop standing tall. They stop entering rooms with energy. They stop making eye contact, not just with others, but with themselves. Slowly they start moving through life like ghosts, unnoticed, unheard, unseen. But here's the truth. You are not invisible. You've simply stopped seeing yourself. The world hasn't turned away from you. It hasn't decided you no longer matter. What happens instead is subtle but devastating. You believe the narrative, and in doing so, you act it out. You move with less conviction. You speak with less authority. You carry yourself like a man who doubts his own worth, and the world mirrors that back to you. He who stops showing up stops being seen. Society glorifies youth because it's flashy. It celebrates the loud, the fast, the temporary. But there's another kind of presence that runs deeper. The kind that isn't measured in likes, followers, or fleeting trends. It's the presence of a man who has lived through storms and walked out standing. The presence of a man who doesn't flinch under pressure. The presence of a man who knows who he is and doesn't need the world's permission to exist. Younger women are not blind to this. They can sense the difference between insecurity wrapped in youth and composure forged through years. They feel the weight of steadiness in a man's presence. Even if they can't explain it, they notice the way he doesn't chase, doesn't posture, doesn't crumble under life's weight. And yet so many older men sabotage themselves by refusing to believe they're seen. They dismiss every glance, every smile, every moment of acknowledgement as coincidence. They let the lie of invisibility rob them of the very qualities that make them powerful. The real danger isn't that people stop noticing you. The real danger is that you stop noticing yourself. Because when you decide you no longer matter, your energy follows. You shrink. You fold inward, and the world reflects that back to you. But the opposite is also true. The moment a man decides to carry himself with dignity, to walk with strength, to enter the room as if he belongs, the world responds. Because energy cannot be faked. When you believe in your presence, others do too. So erase the myth of invisibility from your mind. You are not fading. You are not irrelevant. You are not done. What you carry, your scars, your experience, your calm is exactly what makes you visible. And when you finally see yourself again, you'll realize the world never stopped seeing you at all. The philosopher Seneca once observed that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And when you waste your time believing you are invisible, you are wasting the opportunity to be seen. Don't waste it. Claim your presence. Self-doubt doesn't arrive with a bang. It doesn't storm in and announce itself. Instead, it creeps in quietly year after year, whispering subtle lies into a man's mind. Lies that say, you've peaked. Your best days are behind you. You don't matter anymore. At first, these thoughts are easy to brush aside. But over time, if left unchecked, they begin to feel like truth. And this is where many men lose themselves. They stop carrying themselves with the same conviction they once had. Their posture weakens, not from age, but from belief. Their voice loses its strength, not from time, but from hesitation. They no longer meet the world head-on. They move through it cautiously, as though apologizing for existing. But here's the truth. The weight of self-doubt is heavier than the weight of age. It's not the years that make a man invisible. It's the belief that he no longer matters. Younger women and people in general don't respond to flawless appearances or endless energy nearly as much as they respond to certainty. Certainty is magnetic. Certainty creates trust. Certainty is what makes others feel grounded in your presence. And certainty only comes when you overcome doubt and stand firm in who you are. When a man doubts himself, everyone around him feels it. It shows in the hesitation before he speaks, in the way his eyes dart instead of hold, in the way his shoulders fold inward as though trying to take up less space. Insecurity is a signal, and it repels. But confidence, true confidence, is also a signal, and it attracts. The key is not arrogance. It's not pretending to be more than you are. It's owning what you are. It's the calm assurance that comes from looking in the mirror and saying, I've been tested. I've been broken, and I'm still here. I'm stronger because of it. You see, modern culture tries to glamorize youth, convincing men that their peak value lies in being young, loud, and untouchable. But that's an illusion. Real strength isn't about being untouched by life. It's about being touched by it again and again and rising every time. Every scar, every setback, every trial you've survived is not proof of weakness. It's proof of resilience. And when you embrace that, when you see yourself not as diminished, but as refined, you dissolve the power of self-doubt. Because here's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing approval and start embodying your worth, the world begins to notice. Not because you begged for attention, but because your energy commands it. Not because you tried to prove anything, but because you no longer need to. Overcoming self-doubt is not about shouting louder, flexing harder, or chasing youth. It's about stepping into the quiet truth of who you are. It's about realizing that the same world telling you you're invisible is secretly craving the steadiness you carry. So the question isn't, does anyone notice me? The question is, do I notice myself? Because the moment you do, the world will follow. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And when you react to the world by standing tall in your own truth, you are reacting from strength. You are not being controlled by doubt. You are standing in your own power. Modern culture sells a dangerous illusion that a man's worth peaks in his 20s. Youth is glorified as the golden era, the time of maximum strength, desirability, and potential. But what culture fails to tell you is that potential isn't power. Possibility isn't presence. Energy without direction is just noise. Your value as a man doesn't decline with age. It evolves. It transforms into something richer, something deeper, something far more magnetic than raw youth could ever offer. Youth may carry fire, but fire burns quickly. Age carries embers, and embers last. They don't roar for attention, but they warm everything around them. With age comes refinement. You no longer guess who you are. You know. You no longer chase every fleeting thrill. You choose what matters. You no longer fight to prove yourself. Your presence already proves it. That evolution is something younger men cannot replicate, no matter how much energy they have. Think of it this way. Youth is like unshaped metal, full of possibility but untested. Age is the forged blade, sharpened, tempered, capable. The older man who embraces his journey doesn't need to compete with younger men on their terms because he has something they don't. Proof. Proof that he's walked through storms and emerged stronger. Proof that he has endured mistakes, carried burdens, and built wisdom from fire. This is why younger women often notice older men in ways they don't fully understand. They're not just seeing the man in front of them. They're sensing the story behind him. The trials, the resilience, the calm born from survival. It's not about flawless looks or endless energy. It's about depth. And depth doesn't fade with time, it grows. The tragedy is that too many older men don't see this in themselves. They mourn the loss of youth instead of celebrating the gain of presence. They compare themselves to younger men on the wrong scale, thinking muscles, speed, and novelty are the only currencies of attraction. But they miss the truth. Stability, wisdom, and quiet strength are currencies far more valuable. A man in his 40s, 50s, or 60s who takes care of his body, sharpens his mind, and walks with calm conviction is often more compelling than a 20-year-old bursting with unshaped potential. Not because of age, but because of evolution. Not because of what he's lost, but because of what he's gained. So understand this. Your worth hasn't peaked. It has shifted. It has matured. It has become something youth cannot imitate and time cannot erase. That is your edge. That is your gravity. That is your gift. And when you stop chasing youth, when you stop clinging to the illusion that your value has passed, you'll realize something powerful. Your presence today is stronger, sharper, and more meaningful than it ever was. Because it's not just youth that draws people in. It's presence. And presence only comes when a man evolves. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And when you realize that your value is not tied to your age, you find the strength to stand in your presence. And that presence is what makes you unforgettable. So, here's the truth. The part most men overlook. You were never invisible. You simply stopped seeing yourself. The glance, the smile, the recognition from others. It was always there. But until you believe it, until you own it, you'll keep dismissing the very proof of your value. Your presence is not defined by youth. It's not measured by hairlines, skin tone, or trends. It's measured by the fire you've walked through and the strength you carry because of it. It's measured by the steadiness you bring into a chaotic world. It's measured by the quiet confidence of a man who has nothing to prove but everything to offer. And younger women, they notice, maybe not always consciously, maybe not in ways they can explain, but instinctively they feel it. They sense the gravity of a man who doesn't chase, who doesn't fold, who doesn't need validation to exist. They smile not because of superficial flash, but because of depth, because of presence, because of you. But here's the choice. Will you keep dismissing it, convincing yourself you faded into the background? Or will you rise, stand tall, and reclaim the truth of who you are? Because when you do, something changes. The weight of self-doubt lifts. The old lies lose their grip. And the world begins to respond. Not because you forced it to, but because you finally showed up fully, undeniably as yourself. Your story isn't behind you. It's not over. It's still being written. Every scar, every wrinkle, every hard-earned lesson is part of what makes you magnetic now. Not then. Now. So the next time a younger woman glances your way, the next time her smile lingers for just a moment, don't brush it off. Don't let insecurity drown it out. Receive it. Not with arrogance, not with desperation, but with quiet recognition. Because that smile isn't just hers. It's a reflection of you, of your journey, your presence, your worth. And if this spoke to you, don't let it end here. Step into it. Claim it. Carry yourself like the man who knows his value. Not because the world tells him, but because he's lived it, earned it, and become it. Your best years aren't behind you. They're right here. The only question is, will you see it for yourself? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus also taught that no great thing is created suddenly, and the realization that you are not invisible is no exception. It is not created suddenly. It is built through the accumulation of moments where you choose to see yourself, where you choose to stand tall, where you choose to receive the recognition you have earned. And as you build that realization, it becomes part of your presence. And that presence is what will draw others to you. So go out there and claim it. Your story isn't over. It's just beginning. And the best chapters are still ahead.